see online sometimes, I'm like, oh, I know that picture, you know, because everyone used it from Unsplash. So how do you say your name actually? I don't want to.
Yeah, it's like Jamie but with a T, so Temi.
Temi? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have said it the other way. Like
what were you going to say?
E as a E.
Temi? Yeah, some people say that, yeah. It's all good.
Because it's like that's like a shorter version of it. You have like a longer name, right?
Yeah, Temi Lolua is my longer name, and it means God is mine.
Oh, cool. That's dope. Yeah, it's a Nigerian, right?
Yep. Nigerian name, Yoruba tribe.
I've known like 3 or 4 Nigerian people, and they always have a long name, and then they cut off like 4 or 5 letters of it in the front, and they just call me that, you know.
Yeah, and it wasn't like on purpose, but it's just what my parents would always call me, so I just stuck with it. But I think like as I'm growing up now, whenever I have like interviews or whatever, like I try to let them know my full name. Because I don't want to be ashamed, because I'm the one telling my wife to use her full name. Her name is Afrotina.
Oh, okay.
But she sometimes would tell people her name is Tina. And I was like, use your full name. It's
opposite, cutting off the end of it.
Yeah. But then I'm feeling like I'm a hypocrite. So
yeah, you kind of got to it's hard you got to practice what you preach, you know. It's hard to tell someone to do something when they look at you and if you're not doing it.
Exactly.
Before we get too far into this, today I'm here with Temi, a super talented digital artist, photographer. I'm very excited to chat with him, and I think I met you, probably not met you, but we've been chatting for a few months, I'd say. I think when you first introduced yourself.
Yeah, I remember I found you off of a reel on Instagram. I was like, this guy's work is dope.
Yeah, that's the power of that shit, because you know, you can have reels that'll, you know, probably 20 or 30, 40 times the amount of reach and stuff they can get, but they can also, on the other end, if they're bad, they won't do anything at all.
They won't, exactly. Yeah.
It's kind of, you got to pick and choose. I think I've just noticed, I'm sure you have too, since you work with like Adobe and a lot of other stuff. Everything is just like, everyone wants video, even if you're like a painter or a still photographer. They're always like, how can you make this into motion or video?
Yeah, it's not like terrible, but I've been a person of like, I don't like following trends, or when like Instagram says, oh, here's the way to reach more people. Right. It's just like, in a few months, probably in a year or so, there's going to be something else, you know? Because initially it was, of course, posting, then it became hashtags, then it became video on your feed, then it became Instagram stories, then it became sharing on Instagram stories, then it became Instagram TV, you know? Then it became Reels, you know? And it's just like, I just felt like if I try to follow each time, after a while, I'm just gonna get burnt out. Yeah, reels are cool, but that's why I was asking you how you made yours, because I liked how you made yours. It wasn't like you were trying to be trendy, but you were like very straight and concise, and it was like something that people could take from that reel, you know? Right. So
yeah, one thing I realized about, like, I'm pretty young, but even younger generation is, they don't like stuff to be produced. It seems like if you sometimes like you try to make a reel or a video on YouTube's a different story, but on your phone, if it's like too professional, like it doesn't do well. Like they want you to be like recording it with your iPhone, like talking like in a selfie like style, and it's weird because it takes less effort, but at the same time it takes more effort, because you have to think like someone that looks through TikTok for like 3 hours a day, you know? You need to really capture their attention instantly.
Yeah, no, that is honestly true, because I mean, I think the best thing is finding like what you actually like, and figuring out a way to teach people that skill. Right. You know, and Yeah, and I feel like yours really hit it on the nail. Like the music was nice, the theme was nice, which is something I noticed with your type of reels. You have like a theme, like the Blue Note thing that you did, and then some of your posters. So yeah, I think that's a good happy medium. You know, it was inspiring seeing that, because I was like, okay, finally someone that thinks like me, that has executed it well in a way that doesn't look like, hey, look at me, look what I can do, you know? So
yeah, I think that's the thing with all this stuff that's like on the internet. When you're a creator, an artist, there's always going to be trends, and you don't want to, like, if you don't partake in them, no one's going to be like, that guy's cool, he didn't do it. Like, you're just going to lose out on, you know, whatever's going on. But if you go full on into it and then it kind of dies out, now you're left there with like all this shit you didn't even really like want to stand behind in the first place, you know?
Exactly. So
what have you kind of been up to this week so far? Working on anything?
Yeah, this week I'm just catching up on a lot of work. So I was in New York ending of September, early October. And then I came back last week, and so I've just been like catching up on all the work I have to do. But right now, I think my last client work is due like the end of October. So I'm in this space of like, do I want to take November and December off? Or do I just want to take December off? So that's kind of where I'm at right now, because the projects I'm finishing are really big, and once it's done, I feel like I just need to like sit down somewhere and just watch TV and not come to the office.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I mean, I think it's good because sometimes, I don't know, it's like hard. Like you never want, like taking breaks is so bittersweet, because I always want to take breaks because you got to really like prioritize your mental health and make sure you don't get super burnt out. But it just sucks how with the internet, especially, like taking breaks can like really like damage your, either momentum, like your business, like your sales, your following, your reach, like all this shit that like, yeah, it doesn't matter, but at the same time it does, because that's how you're getting clients, and that's how you're getting more work or selling things. And I see people that are like some of the most talented designers that I know, and they're very like, you know, I'll come in and out and post or do this online every once in a while, and they do not get the like credit they deserve, because they're not like out there grinding on it every day, because they just don't like it, you know?
Right. And I think, you know, I think for some, I know some talented like designers who probably come post 5 times a month, you know, and for them it's never been like, oh, I gotta try to chase this high. It's like, I'm more focused on what I'm doing in real life, you know, than social media. Because social media is like, it makes you feel like, oh, I made this today, I have to post and share it today. You almost become a slave to your followers, you know.
That's
and I know
true.
For myself, I started like not sharing everything, or if I wanted to share something, I would sit on it for like a few days. Like the last post I did with the woman and the circle in her forehead, I made that like last week, you know, and I just posted it I posted it a week later, you know, because I wanted to sit on it, enjoy it, relook at it, and not have to like show the world and be like, hey, I made this today, check it out, you know? So yeah, but I definitely hear you. Like, it doesn't matter the likes and all of that stuff, but it does matter in some spaces. You know, I've done some work with clients, and they've been like, okay, can you send us the insights? You know, how many clicks? Yeah. How many clicks did he have? How many this? How many that? And I'm like, dang. Because for me, I've turned off all my likes on Instagram. It's been a game changer.
Me too. I like it. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's like you're looking at the art for what it is, and not like comparing.
And so are other people.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like you're not comparing how many likes this post has to the ones that you've done. You know, so. Yeah,
I recently made a video. It was like my 10 kind of ideas on like Instagram and what I think about it, like in the state it is now, and like growing it. And the last one was like to hide the likes, because if you start looking at it that way, and even if it's something that you really love, like if it got less likes or something than one of your other things, it's gonna like start being negative in your brain, and you're gonna think like, well, maybe I shouldn't do that kind of style no more because people don't like it. But it's not that people don't like it, it's that people just want the same, you know. So sometimes if you try something different, even if it's better, it's like people are like, they get scared of change, I think, sometimes.
Right.
So,
yeah. And I tell people, like, don't post anything that you're not proud of. Like, even for me, I've posted something, like the Adobe thing that I posted, the skull, that I thought was amazing. I was like, oh my God. Because I remember when they first gave me the prompt, I was like,
was that the Young Thug thing?
Yeah, the Young Thug, the punk theme. I was like, I've never really done punk stuff before, so I had to do research, but I was like, how can I put in my style? And it didn't do well, you know, with the likes and stuff, because I had to like send them what everything was like the insights and stuff like that. But I loved it, and I still love it, you know. But if I was in the mentality of like, oh, only 700 likes or whatever, dang, you know, I think that would make me look at the work differently and not even want to like continue to explore that theme or idea. So I remember when I posted it, I was proud of it. I didn't care what other people thought. If they liked it, cool. If they didn't, cool. You know, I loved it. So
I saw that stuff. A lot of the people kind of partaking in that. Was that like a thing that people like entered themselves, or did Adobe like reach out to all these different people to like
so all these people entered themselves, but Adobe like reached out to a few like quote unquote influencers or designers to make a rendition to kind of make people go
promote it and shit.
To promote it, exactly. And it worked, you know. A lot of people made their designs, a lot of people voted. Young Thug's album, I think it just came out, and so a lot of people had amazing themes.
I'm always like, I don't know, I always go back and forth on how I feel about the idea of like the whole like contest type thing, because when you lose, it's like, or don't get chosen, I guess you're not losing, you just created like a lot of stuff for free, you know. And it's kind of
that's
like
true.
A bummer.
I feel like in those situations, whether if it's like a contest or a competition, like I always think of the fact that I'm creating it with this theme in mind, but I'm also creating it for myself. So if I win, cool. If I don't, cool, because now I have something, and I was kind of like pushed. Because I think a lot of times when people are applying for contests or whatever, a lot of the times they're being pushed to create something that they never thought they could make. You know, which is a win in and of itself. You know, even for me applying to the Adobe Creative Residency, like I didn't know what to expect, and I just sent my stuff over, and I was like, if I get it, awesome. If I don't, I'm still going to be teaching, because I was a high school teacher. And so I was like, well, I have nothing to lose here. If anything, now I know how to like explain my work to people, which I've never had to do before, you know?
It's hard.
What
can you give me like a little bit of background on the whole thing with Adobe and the residency, and like how you kind of, because I see you do a lot of stuff with them, and I've always I've been looking into your stuff and wondered like how you kind of built that relationship with them.
So the Adobe Creative Residency is a program that Adobe started a few years ago to help kickstart creative people's careers. So for a whole year, you don't have to worry about money. You just have to worry about your craft. So they give you salary. Of course, you're going to do some things for them here and there, but they want you to really hone in on your style. So when I was applying, I had to like pitch ideas. I had to pitch what I was going to work on for a whole year. So I was like, okay.
Shit.
My first pitch actually was photography because that's what I was doing at the time. But I was also doing design. But I wasn't as confident. I was doing like my poster day stuff, and I was like, I'm not really that great. I don't know if I'll ever get in for this. But when I applied, they gave me a call back, and they're like, hey, we liked what you sent with your photography, but we have been looking at the stuff you've been doing with your poster stuff. And I was like, oh, yeah. They're like, yeah, we like how you merge photography and design together. Can you repitch us how you would do that for a whole year? And I was like, oh, snaps. So I did. So I broke it into 4 categories. So the first 3 months, I was finishing up my poster a day project. The second one, I went into fashion for the next 3 months. The next 3 months after that, I was working on music. And then the last 3 months, I was working on sports. And the closeout for me, working on the sports, I got to design a poster for the last Oracle Arena, for the last game with the Warriors, San Francisco Warriors, at the Oracle Arena in Oakland. You know,
and that's when they were actually good. Huh?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That was that was an amazing game. I will never forget. But yeah, that's how the relationship started through that residency. The residency was for a whole year. So I left teaching because of that. I had some friends that were in the residency, and I was able to watch and ask them questions. But yeah, it was really rewarding because, I mean, think about it. How many people can say for a whole year I didn't have to worry about money? I just had to worry about creating. That's cool. You know, and so, of course, pandemic happened. So they found different ways to still do it. I think they picked like 2 main ones, and then they have like a few others that get to be in the residency in increments of 3 months. Excuse me. So yeah, so I definitely think it's something you should look into because it was amazing, and it gave me a lot of like just freedom, you know.
Right. I mean, that's like what you did is pretty much what probably thousands, if not millions, people just do for free, you know. Like they're just trying to get good at something, and they're risking it by not working as much. Because what I realized is whether you're an artist or like any type of creative, just if you really want to get into something, it's pretty hard to like half-ass it. Like, yeah, you can be working a full-time job that isn't like creative, like if you need the money, I get that, but then you're only putting half the time into the craft. And I think sometimes you have to sacrifice like the money and like just, you know, hustle and kind of be broke for a while because you're never going to get the full potential. Like I know people that, for example, they play music and they're in bands and stuff, but they're still working so much that the band's not really, they don't practice as much anymore and all that because they're all too scared to just completely be poor and just work on music for a whole year, you know. But sometimes you got to really just risk it all like that.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And, you know, just make time for your passions.
How many were in the like program or whatever when you did it?
Yeah. So when I was in there, it was about 7 of us. I believe 6 or 7. I think
so you got 7. Chosen from like a pretty small like selection. Yeah. There were 4 and they picked 4 from the US and 3 from Europe. And did you guys work on like on a site or were you just at home?
Both. So we flew to San Francisco a lot. And whether it was training or mentorship or just being there and being like on Adobe Live, Adobe Max, all of those things. So that was fun. Probably traveled like 40-50% of the time, and then the rest was just working from home. But we had a meeting with I call her our residency mom, Julia Tian. We met with her like every week, once a week for a whole year.
So she was like the mentor kind of person.
And she was like just checking in on us, giving us tips. We got books to read.
Yeah.
I remember her telling me, because I always had this pressure of like, I guess every week I need to make something crazy that I didn't make the week before, you know? And she was like, we just care about your growth. We're not asking you to like make something ginormous every week, you know?
Yeah, because that's like impossible.
Yeah, it's not realistic. And I put that pressure on myself, and I remember like almost coming to her crying because I was like, yo, this is where I'm at. I am tired. I don't know what else to make. I don't want to make something this week and then the next week I make something similar to it and you guys are not impressed. She's like, no, all we care about is you growing, and whatever that growth looks like, as long as you're growing every week, that's all we care about. So that gave me,
that's good.
It just gave me freedom. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like people like that. It's so important to talk to people that are supportive, but also like they push you, but they don't push you to the point where you don't even want to do the thing anymore, you know?
Right.
Because that can happen if, like, with a lot of sports and stuff, like some of the people are like so harsh that the kid or the person, like whatever they do, sports, practice, art, they won't even want to do it because they just get like yelled at or like, you know, put a lot of pressure. And everyone's different. That stuff, some of that like style works for people. Like they like being, you know, like scared or like on edge because that's when they create their best work. But most people I know, like they want to be feeling good when they're making shit, not under hella pressure.
Exactly. Because I mean, you'll be able to create from a joyful place.
Right.
You know, because even with client work, like, yes, there's pressure sometimes with deadlines and whatnot, but it's still fun. You know, because I'm like creating something I really believe in, creating work for a client I really believe in, or even creating things for the people that are in my community. Right. You know, and so that gives me joy as well.
Is a lot of your, like, how's your kind of workload divided these days? Is it client work, like just stuff for yourself? How do you separate all that?
Oof, that's a good question. I think right now it's a lot of client work. I think client work with like me making posters. I used to make a poster every day, but I literally don't have time. Yeah. So now I just make a poster when I can. But the goal is still to get to 365 so I can have a season 2 done. And then I'm hoping to make that into a book.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. And so right now I'm also trying to get into fashion. So I have like a jacket that I made for my wife and I. And it has like my patterns and shapes and all of that in there. So I'm trying to find like a local tailor that can hopefully make like custom jackets. I'll probably have like 10. And once it's sold out, it's done, and then I'll do another run. But those are things I have in my mind that I'm probably going to think more on when November hits, right? Right now, it's just full on like finishing up client work because these projects are big. Some of them don't come out to next year. So I just want to get it over with in a good way so I can just have some time to really brainstorm and come out in 2022 with like ideas and more vision. Yeah,
and it gets hard to balance that stuff sometimes. I know for myself, since I've been doing like way more than I ever did the past few years in terms of like self-initiated stuff. So the podcast, the YouTube, just posting, like, for lack of a better word, more content or whatever, like personal shit. That sometimes I have it all blocked out in my calendar and I get a client proposition and I look and I think like, how many, like, should I sacrifice real jobs for something that's all like in theory, like a dream or whatever? So it's hard to know. Once I get the money I need for the month, then I kind of turn down more stuff because it's like, I look at all this other stuff I'm doing as kind of like an investment, you know, it's not giving me a ton of money right now or anything, but I want to build this out into a thing where all the work I do is just like extra. Like I make enough income just from all this more passive kind of stuff.
Right. You know? Yeah. No, that's an amazing goal and mindset, honestly, because like for where I'm at in my career is just I've realized I need to hire people. And it doesn't have to be like for design, but like someone who can help me make videos. People have asked me to make classes and I haven't had time. Well, let me not say I haven't had time. I haven't made time. But when companies like Skillshare reached out to me, I was like, oh yeah, let's do a class, because they shot it and I just gave them what I wanted to teach.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, you know, and I'm like, man, I need someone like that, because I am so caught up with work. And me being an immigrant and coming from Nigeria to America with nothing, it just makes like, I have this almost like this mentality of like, I have to make sure we have enough, you know, enough money.
Yep, I understand that.
You know, and so sometimes it's been hard to say no. You know, I have a financial advisor, I have a good CPA, and I still have that mentality, you know, and thankfully my wife has tried to like help me enjoy life, you know, because I am like, what's next? Gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do that. But now I'm at a phase where, okay, there's like enough money that I can take 2-3 months if I wanted to off and really focus on what I want to focus on. However, it's hard, because even last year I took November and December off, but then in December the Oscars reached out, and so it's like, what do you do? do you say no, I'm resting, or do you like take the opportunity?
Can't tell them to wait, you know?
Yeah, you can't tell them to wait. So they respected I told them I was taking a break, but they were like, okay, you know, if you can get this to us like the first week in January. I was like, okay, but I was too excited. So after Christmas, I just opened up my laptop and started making stuff. But yeah, and it always happens every time I take those, like, and the thing with this November and December is a lot of these companies will have you work you to the bone, and then they take a break during winter, and you don't get paid until they come back in January. You know, and it's like that, and that's the thing I think a lot of people don't talk about. So for me, when January hits, I start saving for November and December, because I don't want to deal with those things unless the product is like the Oscars. Like, I'll risk everything. You know. But
yeah, I think that I have that mindset similarly. I'm not an immigrant, but I grew up like pretty poor, especially for the area I lived in. I was like the poorest person in a not so bad area, you know? So like everyone had everything and I didn't. So I always had like this kind of chip on my shoulder and very like scarcity mindset like that. And I'm in by no means like rich or anything now, but I'm comfortable enough to live in LA and pay rent. But I still, like, every time I get money, instead of like using it, I just think like, all right, this is for rent in 6 months, you know, and I'll keep putting it away because I'm like scared that 1 month I'm not going to have any work or something.
Yeah. And I'm glad that I'm not alone, because I mean, I've talked to a few other people about this, and it's like in this freelance career, that thought of like, when's the next job coming is always going to be there. You know, even if you have a retainer, you're like, okay, so when is this gonna end? Because they're not gonna have me on retainer for the rest of my life, you know. And so it's like we're just trying to figure out like, okay, what's next? Like, how can I make ends meet? And I think a lot of people, once they see money, they're like, oh, I have this much, so the next one's gonna come. And it's like, sometimes even in my career, like this summer, I think for a month and a half, 2 months, no work came in. And it was good because I got to like really rest and go on vacation and whatnot. But a part of me was like, what's happening? I remember texting my agent like, hey, I think my streak is up. You know, I think the streak of everyone hiring me is over and I need to just go sit down somewhere and start praying, you know. So I definitely empathize with you there. Like it's tough. but my financial advisor has helped me out with like money. So now I've started to invest some of the money so that it just doesn't sit in our bank account, and things like that.
Yeah, because when you save money, it loses more money than like value. Using it. Yeah, you know? So
literally every year. So when he told me that, he was like, "Yeah, you need to take some of this money and put it into investments." And then my CPA is helping us try to save money on taxes, because like if you reach different brackets, the taxes are terrible.
Right.
And if you're not careful,
it's like sometimes you lose more money by making more money.
Yep. That's why when I see people like celebrate, like, oh yeah, I just reached my first million.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
that's
happy for them.
That's only like 600,000 though.
Exactly, right? And if you're in LA or New York, that's like 500K or less.
Right.
You know?
Right. It's pretty crazy. I think you were talking about hiring, you know, the financial people and having the people make videos for you and stuff. Do you ever, because I feel this way, do you ever feel that you can't, like, I don't know how to give up tasks to other people. Like, I want to do everything even though I don't have time for it.
Bro, that is me. That is literally me right now. And it's so crazy you said it that way. Like, you can't give up tasks. I never thought of it like that. I was just like, so right now, like some dreams that I have, of course, is like the clothing, the book, updating my Behance, my LinkedIn, my website with new work, and my print shop, you know, and I do all of this myself. I haven't even touched LinkedIn. I haven't even updated my Behance with work from the Oscars or Foot Locker or Adobe, all of these different projects that I've done that could bring me more visibility. I just haven't done that. And so I was talking to my wife. I was like, man, I need an assistant, like someone that is going to kind of handle those things for me. But I'm like, man, do I really want to give them my password? You know, or do I? Yeah. Because some people have talked about like, hey, well, why don't you just give someone your Instagram and you tell them what to post and they post it. I was like, that's too much.
I always think I would spend as much time making sure it's like correct as if I were to just do it myself, you know?
But the thing I've heard is like, if you do that, you only have to do it once. You train someone or you make a curriculum and you train the person. And once you train them, you can have them write those curriculums for you.
Right.
And then when they leave, when the next person comes in, you say, hey, here's the pamphlet. Here's how we work. Here's what you should do. Let me know if you have any questions. Train them up.
Yeah.
And so it's just that first time of training. And for me, it's also the trust. Like, do I want this person to know how much I'm making by giving them access to my emails?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Especially if you're paying them, then they may feel like, you know, people sometimes may feel like resentful or something if
and I honestly don't understand that part, because I'm like, I'm paying you for the job that you're doing for me, but I'm still the one that has to go find the job.
Right.
You know,
and like paying someone doesn't, like a job's value is what it is. It shouldn't be based off of how much money the person paying you has making. You know?
Exactly. And so I've thought about like, okay, I can have an assistant that can do my emails, but then I have an agent. So I'm like, do I really need someone to do my emails? I can just forward the email to my agent. But I think the hard part right now is finding someone that is good in Illustrator, InDesign, Photoshop, words, like writing. Like I told them, like copy. Like I told them, here's what the project was all about. Can you write this out? And because that's the part I hate.
Yeah, that's what I want. One of those people. Yeah, I can't do that shit. It's hard.
Yeah, I'm starting to think like maybe I wonder if Fiverr has that, where you can hire someone to do copyright for you. But that's the thing, because for me, if you go to my website, like my website is amazing. I love the person that did it. She's so dope. But when I was like sending her the stuff of trying to explain what each of the projects were, it was just weird. It was like, I was hired by blah 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 to do blah 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 for this campaign. And it's like, what else do I say? oh yeah, this campaign was to include blah 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 blah, and it just became redundant, you know.
I always like when I write in my portfolio, I always not on purpose obviously, but I always undervalue like what I did. Like it'll be like some big project and I'm like, this is what we made, you know, but I don't say like, you know, we did this, we shot this, we worked with these people, it was this and this. And like, that's something that school taught me with the professors. Like they would really tell you like, what are you talking about? Like you just made this, like you didn't even show like any of the stuff that went into like the strategy or like the sketching and all these things. And like, as you get more developed, you don't have to like prove yourself as much in your portfolio, but when you're starting out, you should definitely show that like you're doing a lot of stuff, especially if it's like you work at a job as like an employee as a designer. Right. You do a lot at that. So like make sure you write that, like make sure you put, we were working with I was emailing the clients too and all this stuff. 'Cause like just showing that you made like a graphic for social media, that won't look as powerful as if you talk about how you like ran the campaign for it and all this stuff. Right.
Yeah, no, that's good and like amazing, because I think another issue a lot of college students who are starting design end up doing is they like almost over talk what they did, you know, and then when another client says, hey, I want to hire you for this, you're like, oh shoot, I didn't do that part, you know. I've had you know, I've had people who worked at agencies and they did like a typeface for the client, but the agency had an art director that led the whole campaign, but then they take the whole campaign and go to their website and put it on their website and says that they did it.
I was just talking about this with the people that I did the podcast with last. They were talking about how you'll see a big campaign and it'll be in like 40 people's portfolio, you know, that they all did it pretty much.
They all did it. And it's like, come on. And it's like, I'm not saying they can't do that, but I think make sure that you're honest and talk about what you did. If you just did a typeface, that's fine. Like the Foot Locker thing, like it was probably like 60 people, but it was 2 agencies and me. So I was art directing the whole thing and did all the designs, but then there was the projection mapping company who I partnered with. And so they took my designs and projected them on the court and put composed a lot of the stuff together to kind of make it cohesive. Right. Make it a visual language. And then the agency helped with the whole campaign, a typeface, figuring out how it was going to be published on Twitch, figuring out ideas of how to make it interactive and stuff like that. And so that made it a lot of fun. But you don't see me on my website going like, yeah, Foot Locker, and it's just me. Like if you scroll, I think I have it on the top or bottom. I have like the names of the agencies, what they did and what I did. And so it's like, I think that's how things should always be.
I was going to ask you earlier, I just forgot to get to it. With your style, like I've noticed it's very, like it's very digital art, but at the same time, it has a lot of analog elements in it. Like with the way you cut people out and stuff, like it's more collage style. When did you kind of start experimenting with that look? Was that during the residency and stuff?
Yeah, so that was during the residency. On my website, I have like my first posters, my first year of making posters. And it's terrible. Absolutely terrible. I mean, let me not say that. I think then when I made it, it was the best thing I ever made. You know, and I was so proud. I loved it.
That's good though, you're growing.
Yeah, I remember the first poster I made, my friend showed me how to make glass texture, and I was like, you can do this in Photoshop? Oh, snaps. You know, and then the second one was like a picture I found on Google of Kanye West and Jay-Z, and I just turned those into posters. But back then, I wasn't thinking big, right? Again, it was just a passion project. It was for fun. I wasn't trying to print. Then people started asking me about printing. And I was like, okay, well, I can't print this Kanye West piece. I don't have the rights to the picture. And if you look at, and then it's like for a lot of those posters for the first year, I literally could not print a lot of them because I wasn't thinking that big.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah. And so even now I want to make a book of both seasons, but I can't do that. So I'm like, maybe I'll make a best of season 1, and then season 2 I can actually have like a best of season 2 or do the whole compilation. Because for season 2, I've been very, very strict, making sure I'm using like Adobe stock, Unsplash images, images. I'm sure
you have a lot of your own too, right?
Yeah. Images I've taken, images people have sent me, and then I still have like celebrity ones that I've made just for fun, you know, and I share it because the celebrity has done something that impacted my life or something that I was really proud that they did, like Michaela Cole, when she won the Emmys. And so it's like things like that. I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a poster of her to commemorate this day, this event, and this moment.
A lot of people I know, they do on it because on Instagram you can make a poster with Kanye, or you can make a poster using a photo. It's not yours. It's not. Someone may not be happy about it down the line or whatever if they find out, but it's not really like gonna get you in that much trouble per se. But I always try to not do that, even though you can, and even though it makes it easier to use shit that you're not allowed to. I try not to. That way I don't run into like what you're saying. Like I want to be able to print shit. I have the same issue. There's some stuff where I'm like, well, damn, like I don't even, that typeface isn't even allowed for like commercial use. So I can never print this poster, even though it's the one that everyone wants, you know? It's like a bummer. So you got to try to, like, I only use Unsplash nowadays because, or a few of the other ones like Pexels and all that shit. But because I don't know, like it makes it more challenging for sure because you're working within their library, but I think it's worth it because it pushes you and it's like future proof. It'll always be able to be sold.
Yeah, I was using Unsplash for a while. I still sometimes use it, but with where I'm at in my career and the type of work that I do now, I've had I've lost some gigs because the image was from Unsplash, because the client was so big. So right now, a lot of some of the clients that I have been like, hey, we want to license this poster that you made, you know, because you're like, okay, you don't have time to design what we want you to design. Can we just license this one or this one? And we'll be like, okay. They'll be like, okay, where'd you get the images from? It's like, Unsplash. It's like, okay, what are the rights to it? Who shot it? Do you have the photo release form? Do you have the photographer's name? And then you get on Unsplash, you find a photographer's name, they email the photographer says, no, I want to cut. And now they're not trying to pay, so now they're like, Temi, are you willing to pay this person out of what we pay you? And so it's this whole thing. So I started like being really, really strict on using Adobe stock. Even my agent was like, try to stick with Adobe stock if you can. But for my poster stuff, I use Adobe stock, Unsplash, and images that I've taken. But I think the difference between this poster and the last poster was the last season when I was making posters, I used more Unsplash and less like Adobe stock. Whereas this time I'm using more Adobe stock and not as much Unsplash. Or if I use Unsplash, as long as it doesn't have a person's face or recognizable features, then yeah, like I would go to Unsplash for like paint textures and stuff like that. You
run into, like, I see online sometimes, I'm like, oh, I know that picture, you know, because everyone used it from Unsplash. And it'll be like a big ad. Like I always see this one specific one. I'll throw it up on the video if I find it. It's like this like guy in an orange beanie, and he's looking like kind of like a hipster, and I always see it in all these like learn how to code or like go to design school, and it's just like this one guy, and I'm like, damn, everyone just got that same picture from Unsplash.
Yeah, I know. I personally would never put my picture on Unsplash because Unsplash theoretically should not be a thing. It should not make sense as an artist to put your stuff on there. I've seen
you don't get like, really anything out of it at all.
Yeah, I mean, you get exposure. You get to put on your Instagram bio that you were Unsplash #1 most downloaded picture photographer.
Right. But I've honestly never went and looked up someone's work because I got one of their photos on Unsplash. I don't think I've ever done that once.
Exactly. And so, and it's like it's like 99% of the time, the people that they took pictures of that they put on there never gave them a photo release. Even though
like if it's a model or whatever.
That. Yeah. Because I've seen celebrities. I've seen Kid Cudi. I've seen, who else did I see? I think I saw like Jay-Z or Kanye West or another rapper on there at a concert.
Really?
And I was like,
right.
Yeah, it's like, what is people doing? Like, that's, okay, yeah, you took the picture, but if the artist sees you, they can come back and,
right.
They can come back and sue you. So, yeah, like this next phase of things, right now I'm on like poster 146. And sometimes I think about like just giving it a new name. Instead of a poster a day, because I think it's deceiving now, because I don't do it every day.
Right.
But I'm like, well, it could be a poster for that day, and then another day a poster for that day. So I'm still thinking about it, because online, I mean, the link is there and has been there for years. So
why do you use black and white mostly, or only?
Yeah, I use black and white because it gives me the ability to pick my colors. I found myself like being constrained to like the color on the picture, and so when I started like designing on top of the outfits, I was like, oh snaps, I'm onto something here. And when I made it black and white, now I had the freedom to really change the color. And color is like, I think color is like my superpower in the type of work that I do. And so color and imagination, it's like I'm putting things where probably they wouldn't normally go, or giving outfits a different type of feel.
Right.
And yeah, it has like collage inspiration, the way things are cut out, the way I'm able to like infuse color in things. But I've always like tried to steer away from calling myself like a collage artist, because I feel like I wouldn't be as no, it's not about me. I think I just don't want to offend the people in that community, because I've seen like some amazing collage artists where they're not even using like colors, just all cutouts, whereas for me, I cut out, but then I bring color in there and things like that. And so so yeah, right now I think I just call myself like a multidisciplinary creative, and right now I'm trying to get into the fashion space by 2022, because this year I made something for Peloton. Next year I partnered up with another company to make some apparel, and I'm like, why can't I make my own? Because people love the Peloton. Like some sold out in Europe the day of the launch, and there's still some on the website, and they're never gonna like remake them. So it's like, once it's gone, it's gone. But when I saw the feedback and people wearing it, and when my wife wore it, I was like, oh snaps. Like, okay, we're onto something. And so yeah, I'm hoping I'll have time, but it's like this November, December, like if I'm brainstorming 2022, am I really resting?
Right.
Yeah,
it's hard to completely, like, even when I do leisure activities, sometimes I think about it as like, oh, this is just an essential break to get more work done, or something, like some bullshit that.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it gets really hard to, like, I've been trying to read a lot more, but I'm reading like nonfiction, like learning shit. So it's not really relaxing. I'm like taking notes and like trying, like, it's like about finance and all this stuff, So it's not like, I don't know. But I just want to, one more thing about your kind of style. I think with the color, It makes sense. I wasn't thinking of it from you don't want to use a color to clash with it, but that makes a lot more sense now. But I think it's so recognizable because you use a lot of subject matter that have like darker complexion. It'll have super high contrast, so the blacks are so dark and rich, and then you put the color on top of that. Like it's kind of hard to not like get super like into the color, you know, because it just pops so hard off of like the contrast like that. Yeah.
And I think the message that I've been trying to convey through my work is that black is a beautiful canvas. Our skin is beautiful. You know, I struggled with loving the skin that I was in for a long time. It wasn't until high school that I was like, you know what, God didn't make me black for no reason. Like, he did that intentionally. And who am I to say that what God created is not good? And so it's kind of like therapeutic for me to be able to create work featuring people that look like me in a light that is creative, that gives this sense of power, this sense of royalty, this sense of like belonging, relatability, and like just this sense of like, wow. And even now that as I'm learning Illustrator, which is why I posted what I posted a few days ago, I'm sticking to black, you know, and then using like using shadows and highlights to kind of help you see the face, you know. And I'm hoping I get better in that so that I can like actually start adding a whole outfit and stuff to it, because I think that would be so helpful, because it would make things like really look even more vibrant, you know. I've like this December will be 10 years in my creative career, and so I'm like, what should I like do? I'm thinking of doing like a what is it, limited print, making like 10 copies of it that I will never ever print again, to commemorate this special moment.
For 10 years, you mean?
Yeah, for 10 years. 10 years. That's cool. 10 posters. I still.
Would they be the same or different? I've seen. Do you know who Ferocious is? He's like this NFT artist. Yeah. He did the like, it was with the Christie's or whatever. He did this like 13 years of my life or whatever, and each piece was a physical print and an NFT and then like a acrylic painting or whatever. But it was cool because each one was different, but each one was like one of one, you know, but all together it was like 13 pieces or whatever. So something like that could be cool. You could do first year, second year, third year, so on. Yeah, that would be amazing, you know, because it's like when I started though, I wasn't really doing design. So I'm like trying to think back on like if I could even find those images and make something off of it, or if I can do from like 2016 to 2021 and get like 2 posters that I made every year. You know, but it's just crazy because I'm in this style now that I'm like, I should just make 10 from where I'm at, you know. So I'm still thinking about it, or make like 2 posters and do 5 copies each or something like that. But I don't know. I just haven't had time to like really sit down and think about it. But the more I think about like, dang, I'm really about to hit 10 years, the more I'm like, I need to figure something out. When did you start that time? Like, because I always have trouble explaining to people, like they say, how many years of experience do you have? I don't know where to start that. Do I start it once I graduated? Do I start it when I started getting clients? Do I start it when I had fucking stolen version of Photoshop in high school? You know, where does it begin?
Yeah, I think it literally begins when you literally started. I think sometimes society has made it feel like, well, did you really start if you like were using like a pirated version of Photoshop, or did you really start when you graduated? You know, or did you really start when you start numbers? Yeah, there's a big difference in numbers, of course. But for me, it has always been, when did the journey start? And it started in 2011 for me, because I switched my major from biomedical engineering. I was 19. I'm going to be 29 this December. Yeah, and went to college 2010 with biomedical engineering major. Then 2011, I was like, hell no, this is not. This is not for me. And I did it to make my parents happy.
Was there a lot of pressure on you, like to do like a STEM major? Yeah. In our culture, lawyer, doctor, nurse, accountant, engineer. Those are the 5 pillars of success. Right. Yeah. And I have been playing music since I was 10. So I was trying to play keys and study keys at college. My dad was like, we didn't come from Nigeria to America for you to go to school to study music, you know? And back then I was like, it's like, what? Like, I can study music and be successful. But looking back, I can see why he thought that. But 2011, I switched and I was like, this is it. You know, people told me I had an eye because I was shooting with the iPhone 3G, and I was like just trying things out, trying different apps. And people were like, you have an eye. And I remember my friend told me, he was working at Best Buy, and he was like, hey, we have a camera for $360. And I had $365 in my bank. So I sent him the money. He got it for me. I was happy, but I was broke. Right. Was it just like a little DSLR from the time? Yeah, it was a Nikon D3100, and I still have the first album. Yeah, and I still have the first album that I made all these images with. On Facebook, and I use it for all the talks I have, and it's just been it's been amazing to be able to look back, and I'm glad I did that, because whenever I do speaking events, I think people kind of see the humanity in my work and in me, because I think sometimes they see where I'm at and they take that humanity out. You know, you see people in this caliber working with all these clients, and it's like unconsciously you don't see them as human, you see them as like they're above you. And I'm like, no guys, we're all here, we're all human. Yes, more people are looking at my work than they might be looking at yours. It does not make me more valuable than you. And so that's what I've always been trying to preach. I've had people DM me, and when I reply, they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were going to reply. And I just, like, dang. Like, why does society make it that way? Because you have X amount of followers, you're too busy for people. Right. And so there's some times where I surprise people, like they would message me and I'll reply back, but I'll reply back with a video, you know, just to break that barrier. Some Gary V shit. Yeah. You know, just like some, like, hey, I'm human, I'm here, thank you so much. I really appreciate the kind words, and stuff like that. And, you know, I have so many stories from how me replying a message to someone like really made a connection with me and that person. You know, to the point that one was a kid in high school, and I was able to get in touch with his teacher and send him a free print. You know what I'm saying? Oh, that's dope. And and it's just because the kid was brave enough to DM me and tell me how much my work has inspired him. Right. Yeah, I had someone send me, like, I get a few messages nowadays from people just saying, like, oh, I watch a podcast or channel or whatever. And I had someone send me, like, a voice message on Instagram saying similar things, but since they sent it that way, I felt that I had to do the same thing. So I've never sent a voice message, but I was like, oh man, like, thank you, appreciate it. never sent one of these before, but when you give someone a certain energy, it's hard for them not to reciprocate it. You know, if you approach someone with a lazy templated message about how that you look up to them, but it looks fake, like why you're not going to get a good response. But if you you know, give it some context and speak from the heart, everyone's just people, so they're not gonna, it'd be like some people, like I don't know how people don't check their messages, you know, like I don't see how I don't think I'll ever be at a point where I'm like too good to look at messages, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know, I get a lot, and so for me, I take it in strides. Like I try to reply to the ones that I can. But if for whatever reason it's been like a month or two and I don't see it anymore, you know, like if they send another message and it comes to the top, like I'll reply to that. But yeah, I'm not like perfect, but I definitely do the best that I can to like get to as many people as I can, because I think it's important to, I don't want success to change me. You know, I was a very approachable person before all of this, and I want to continue to be that type of person. And so like, even when I go speak, like if people have wanted to talk to me after and we've made some time to talk, or do like a Zoom call or Google Hangout, like let's make it happen, you know. But of course I have to like set boundaries as well, you know, because some people would try to like pitch you their brand or their company and thinking like you're that gateway to their success for their company, you know. And sometimes I'm like, man, don't put your success of your company on me, because you'll be disappointed. I mean, some things I do go well, some things I do not. And so yeah, that's kind of my stance on that.
What when did you start, or I guess when and how did it come about that you started doing the Instagram live, like design visionaries? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. So Black Design Visionaries is a program that Instagram started to help the Black community, Black designers in the Black community. This happened June 15th, and there was a grant that you could apply to. They were going to pick 3 winners, and like one Black company or agency or something that they'll give $100,000 to. So it was a really, really amazing opportunity. A lot of people applied. But yeah, when the program was coming up, you know, they were looking for a host, and my name came up on the table. Because I've worked with ad design before on some stuff in the past, and so
I didn't even know that existed. I saw like ad design. I was like, what the hell is this?
Like it's crazy, right? I didn't know it existed till last year. And I don't know if last year was the first time they actually made that, but I thought it was amazing. And so they pitched the idea of me hosting it. I had to host I think I have one more left, which is going to be with the winners, so I'm really excited about that.
Cool.
But yeah, and it was very chill. Like, it was exciting for me because I got to also look for designers in the Black community that I may not have known or talked to. And I got a lot of people, and so I was able to talk it with the team and figure out who, because we wanted to make it very diverse, like not just graphic design. You know, the one yesterday, Thaddeus Hippie Potter, he does like illustration, but also like animation as well. Vic Adesami, the one before him, she does set design. And then I'm trying to think who was before her. There was Jade Purple Brown. She does illustration. There's Sango does music. You know, and so there's just so many different things and spaces within Black design, and we just wanted to talk about like the fears that we all have, our stories to success, how we can help each other, And I was just honored that they had me in mind to be a host. I've never hosted anything before. So it was really interesting, but fun.
Yeah, that's cool. And I think I'm going to need to look through some of them more and see, maybe get some of them on the podcast. I've noticed this, and like at first I thought, cause I noticed I try to branch out. I don't just do graphic designers, even though that's what I do. I like to I call this like interview with creatives is like the subtitle. Cause as it grows, I don't ever want to be limited to like, I want to be able to have on like a writer, you know, or whatever it may be, someone that just does something creative. And I noticed like, it wasn't obviously by design, but I've done maybe 40 something episodes, and booking guests and meeting different people. Like I've only known like one or two Black graphic designers. And I think it's crazy because like there's so many of them, but like it's such a white dominant like field that like they're hard to find. And I was like, for a while I was like, I hope no one thinks I'm like doing that shit on purpose, because I just like, they don't exist. No. It seems like you just like, but then you see other pages and you're like, you see people like looking through like this hippie Potter guy, like this shit's dope. And I wouldn't have known that if you probably didn't make the live chat. Yeah.
And you know, the thing is like, the Black designers are out there. We're here. You know, I think that a lot of issues with a lot of agencies is like, they don't want to look. They're comfortable with, you know, finding for lack of a better word, the white designers out there, you know, and Black people we have to work twice as hard for everything, literally, you know, because we're not being looked at, and it sucks because we deserve the same opportunities as everyone else, you know. And my thing has been like, okay, well, I'm not gonna sit here and wait for white people to hire me. I'm going to continue to create and bring my Black friends along, and we're going to make amazing things. And if it's just for our people, then so be it, you know. And I just happen to have kind of struck gold being able to still create what I create for my community, but also helping different brands. And so now the brands that come to me, they definitely know what they're getting. So a lot of them are like, okay, well, we can't come to Temi about like a white conference, you know? We can come to Temi about a conference that has to do with diversity, a conference that wants to bridge the gap between racism in America, colorism in America. Like, those are the type of, like, I've worked with Facebook before, and they had I forgot the name of the program, but they had a program they wanted me to help like brand and stuff, and it was a way for them to be able to teach Black and Latino business owners how to run their business and give them the resources. And when they came to me, it was like, duh, you know? Or AT&T.
It's cool you get to work on that stuff too, because it's like, not only are you working with these huge clients, but you're not having to sacrifice like your morals or like what you believe in, you know?
Exactly, because I feel like I've gained such a trust with the people that look up to me that I want to make sure that I continue to uphold my values and my morals. And so I never want to be like a sellout, you know. But even with the Oscars, like, you know, the Oscars, the statue is gold, but I made mine black, you know, and that was a conversation I had to have with them. I remember calling them. I was like, hey, you know, this is not working out. I was like, you know, I make my things black and white. The prompt was, what do movies mean to you? And I was like, well, movies to me means representation. I love to see our stories being told by people that look like us. Not a Black story being told by a white director, but a Black story being told by a Black director, Black writer, Black actors. And so that's why I made the statue black. And I was like, okay, well, some people are probably going to miss the message. So I put black on the neck, you know, and it was also a way for me to like grab the attention of the Black writers, Black actors, Black cinematographers, Black DPs at the Oscars when they see the artwork, because I wanted them to see themselves, you know, and let them know like, look, whether you win tonight or not, like I see you, thank you.
Yeah,
you know,
that's dope.
And you know, like Daniel Kaluuya saw it, gave a shout out.
Was it for his movie? Was what's going on at the Oscars?
Yeah. When he got his Oscars for was it Black Panther?
It's I forgot what it's called, but
yeah, it's the Black Panther
recent
Party.
one, right?
Yeah, it's the recent one. Yeah. You know, when he got that, he was like, "Man, the art here." You know,
Judas and the Black Messiah, that one, right?
Exactly. Yeah, Judas and the Black Messiah.
Okay.
But yeah, he was like, "Man, who made these arts? Like the art here is amazing," and it's like that's what I wanted it all to be about. You know.
Yeah.
And when I told them this, like they were like, "Oh my gosh, we love it." I was like, "Okay, awesome." And I made it, and then they made mine because they picked 7 artists, but they made mine the TV ad for it. And so, you know, it's like I just feel like this was a moment where a Black artist, because you know they had the whole Oscars so white, you know, thing. And this roster was pretty diverse. You know, there was Karan, there was I forget her name, Malvere Favre or something like that. She's an amazing artist, but
I don't know. I don't even watch the Oscars, if I'm being honest. That shit's boring to me.
Yeah, all my friends were like, "Look, I don't watch the Oscars, but
yeah,
we're watching tonight." You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like it's important to me to continue to share our stories and our narratives and create people that look like me. So I'm all for everything Black, but also for minorities, you know, and helping our voices to be heard in whatever capacity and way possible, you know. And I think me moving towards like making a book, fashion, I think there's some interesting stories that can be told from those mediums.
Yeah, and with a combination of all you were just saying and what you were saying earlier about showing the subject matter like as royalty and like powerful and Black like excellence and things, I think that's so important. I never realized how important that was until I started talking to not only some Black friends that I know, but Mexican and Asian. It's like they didn't even, some of them say like when they were kids, especially their parents, they didn't even know that they could be actors or be this because they never saw one until like until there was like the first person to do it, and then they were like, holy shit. Like I know like for Koreans, like the dude that's in The Walking Dead, like he was like, that was like one of the biggest things of like our modern for like representation of Asian Americans, because it was serious and it wasn't like an accent, you know, and all like like they weren't joking about it or anything. And it's crazy because when you're growing up, I'm half Mexican, but I'm super light skinned. So I'm pretty much, I'm just white, you know, in America, everyone thinks I'm white. So I never really like thought about it that way until you get older and you're like, damn, it's a whole different way to look at media, you know?
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about like a lot of the white kids, like they had the world in their hand. They saw themselves everywhere. You know, they saw themselves on TV, in prestige roles. They saw themselves in board meetings. They saw themselves as CEOs of big $1 million, $1 billion companies. But minorities, we didn't really see a lot of that growing up. And we just thought like, okay, well, I guess the best I can do is be be like a worker for these big companies, but never be like the actual person that can make those big decisions. Or
like, what about, how do you feel about sports then? Do you think that that's why like you think a lot of maybe young black people look up to like being successful athletes, because that was kind of always like growing up one of the honestly, like most excellence you see.
Yeah, that was all a lot of us saw, you know, at the time.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, that's the quickest way to success. And now you had black families like pressuring their kids to go get concussions, you know, to make money. And you know, I have a close friend. He was in the NFL. He got injured, but he's definitely, I'm pretty sure he's going to go back. But that wasn't like his end all be all. It was a bridge, you know?
Right.
And because he's been able to see other black successful people go through the NFL as a bridge, he has been doing so well. Like, he has a condo now. He has his own clothing brand that he's been running himself. He's been designing it himself. And it's like, that's because you have like people in these spaces now, you know, making amazing clothes, amazing brands, you know, as a person of color, which a lot of us never thought like that was really possible. So I think representation matters. And I think like now more than ever, we can really see ourselves in a lot of these spaces, or at least make our own tables to be in a space that we make our own. You know, we don't have to sit down here and wait for a cosign from a white person, you know, like God co-signed me. He made me, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I already have that stamp of approval as a worthy creative, a worthy human being. So I'm just going to work in that. I'm just going to walk in that. And I've always told people this, like, be faithful with your gifts, you know, don't wait. And that's what I love about you. Like, this is our first time meeting, but when I saw your reels, like, I went to your page and I just scrolled down. I went to see everything that you've done. I saw that you were under 10K followers, but I think you've reached 10 now. Congratulations on that. You
Thank
know,
you.
and it's like, you were faithful. Whether the reel had 1,000 views, 500, 12K, you were faithful. And that's all I think we all just need to do. Like, don't get too caught up with the numbers. Like, if you're, and with my faith, I think it's really humbled me and helped me a lot, because I know that this gift can be taken anytime. And I know when I die, I know God is going to ask me, what did I do with this gift? And so I try to make it a point to definitely bless people, help people out, give tutorials, inspire people, spark conversation, make artwork that makes people talk. Because at the end of the day, like, I can't take these gifts with me to heaven. You know, like, it's like, what am I doing here on earth to help this legacy continue when I'm gone? You know, like, when Temi is gone, Temi is gone. But it's like, what did Temi do that can still live on? And for me, it's like, okay, Temi created work of people that looked like him, that people could look at and be inspired and realize that they are worthy of love, worthy of anything in life, you know. And that's been my goal, and it's a thing that I want to remind myself every day, you know, that, like I always say, and maybe one day I'm gonna do an exhibition and just call it that, like, black is a beautiful canvas. You know, so
I mean, I think you've done it. I mean, you've done a lot of stuff already at 29, and I think you're really leading the way. I think it's good that you look at it that way, because I think that's what's so fulfilling just about being someone that creates anything in general, is that regardless of money or fame or like whatever happens in the present, that stuff has the opportunity to exist even when you don't exist anymore, which is like, you could be rich and all that, but if you're just a person that is rich for the sake of, you just handle money or whatever it may be, that money isn't gonna be worth anything at one point, knowing, seeing how the world's going, like we might not even have money at some point.
Right.
It might be everyone's paying like crypto and shit, so it's cool to create just for the sake of creating. And I like that you haven't, I think I already mentioned this, but you don't seem to sacrifice like what you believe in, and it's worked, like you didn't sacrifice your morals, and it also it like launched your career rather than like kept you from getting opportunities. You made them for yourself, and I think it's a good example, because like you were saying, you don't have to sit around and wait for someone to tell you you're good or you're ready to go. You just go,
Yeah, for sure. And it's been awesome. I don't know how long my career is going to be, but I'm trying to stay in the moment and be thankful for where I'm at and where I started from. Because like I've always said, the journey is the reward, not the destination. So, and this is a journey, like I don't like to feel, I don't ever want to feel complacent or too calm. I want to continue to learn and grow as much as I can. So, yeah.
Sorry, my battery died, but
I agree. You're good.
Let's see, but I think that's a good point to end there. And if you guys want to hear a little bit more, I'm going to do a quick Q&A with Temi over on the Patreon. And other than that, I appreciate you chatting with me, man. It was nice to meet you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. This was amazing.
All right. See you, everyone.
All right. Peace.